You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 372 of Podketeers. This week we host our own Disneyland-style fireworks shows. Well, I mean, kinda. They were technically an Animal Crossing, but they were Disney-inspired, and it sparked a conversation of what we'd like to see the fireworks show in the parks evolve into. D23 and Amazon release an exclusive replica of a pretty historic item. We talk about the recent troubles between Scarlett Johansson and Disney. We watch The Jungle Cruise and give our thoughts on the film, plus we discuss Disney's announcement regarding the annual passport replacement. We'd love for you to join the conversation over on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Just search for Podketeers, but we'd like to invite you to join our growing community over on Discord. You can find an invite in the blog post for this episode at podketeers.com/372. Steamboat Willie is our official charity team, and the next event we'll be participating in will be Walk for Hope as we raise money to support the fight against women's cancers. Our team donation page is up if you'd like to join the team to help us fundraise, or if you'd like to make a donation. More info on both of these options is available in the blog post for this episode or at teamboatwillie.com. The link is super easy to remember because it's just like Steamboat Willie, but without the S. And of course, before we kick this off, I'd like to take a moment to thank a very special group of people known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. As part of the FGP Squad family, you get some additional perks like exclusive discount codes for Podketeers gear, additional content like the Podketeers after show, and access to our monthly happy hour calls, just to name a few. For more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, we invite you to check out podketeers.com/FGP. And as always, a super special thank you goes out to the FGP Squad for their continued support. Well, it's podcast time. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we hope that you come back for more. And for those of you that have been hanging with us weekly, we appreciate you and the time you spend with us. So here we go. This is episode 372 of Podketeers.
You can never tell with like internet delay and everything.
I know.
We're all caught up on a clap, and it's like we're talking to each other through space.
Yeah.
The clap.
If we did, though, we can celebrate with how we were celebrating earlier and just, hello, nurse.
Hello, nurse.
Ooh.
Is that... Sorry
She's
if
back.
my voice sounds a little hoarse. I've been, I have a little scratch in my throat. And
Well, at least your
Okay,
voice doesn't
it's-
sound a little donkey.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
How's everybody doing aside from Andrew's scratchy voice?
Good, good.
Scratchy, sweaty. I can relate to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there with you, man. Right there with you. If you saw the title card for the episode, you know that we're going to be talking about the Jungle Cruise. Disney released information on the Magic Key program. What is it? What is Magic Key? We'll find out later in the episode, obviously. We're going to talk about Scarlett Johansson. We're going to talk about Luke Skywalker and how he's hooking people up with jobs. We're going to talk about some cool stuff we saw on the internet. But first, Mel,
Yeah.
last year, I remember you were telling me that after I got Animal Crossing, that last year you had seen this event thing that they had where they had fireworks.
Yeah.
And I had no clue what you were talking about. Of course, I could have gone on YouTube and watched somebody's video because it would have given me complete context, but I decided not to. Why? Because I'm lazy sometimes.
We all are.
And so, we get this announcement that Animal Crossing is bringing fireworks back this year. And I'm thinking, this is great. I get to experience them. And I had no idea. I remember you told me that you can create your own and that there was, how I was like, okay, this is going to be great. Sunday rolls around and, You know, the kids and the wife and I are all playing Animal Crossing together, running around the island and talking to the villagers. And, you know, we finally figure out how to set these fireworks up. Then I start seeing posts on the Discord server that you kicked off with, like, I want to see Hattie as the firework at Disneyland. And I thought, yes, because that was my first thought, right? Like, how do we integrate these characters and these things that we like to see into this fireworks show? And ironically enough, we picked the exact same custom design to create the Hatbox Ghost. And so we had these Hatbox Ghost, like, fireworks. If you are part of our Discord family, you would have seen some of the animated GIFs that I posted on there of some of the fireworks that I had going on my island. I also posted them on my personal Instagram account. I didn't post that on the Podketeers one, did I? Just on my personal? Yeah, just on my personal.
Yeah, just your personal.
So if you're following me on Instagram, you would have seen my fireworks show there. But it was nice because I had the Hatbox Ghost, I had an arc reactor, I had the Iron Man helmet head, the Avengers logo. To spice it up, I threw in 8-bit Super Mario. Well, just Mario. He wasn't super yet, but I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I like Mario, so I threw that in. What did you use for your fireworks, Mel? I know you used the Hatbox Ghost, obviously, but what other designs did you throw in there?
I have a Mara face, which
nice.
I had to see this be done, and what else did I have? Mickey balloons, and we actually threw in some Star Trek for Jerry. So you know we gotta compromise. I was like, you could have 5 slots. I will have 5 slots. Perfect. Choose whatever you want, and just throw them up together. So it's a mix, but. Dude, when you see them come up and they just work, I'm like, Disney, this could be a drone show. Like, how awesome. Yes, I want to see, it started with Hattie, but I want to see Mara's face, and I want to see, like, the eyes just glow red, and then I just want to see more. I'm like, you know what, just redo Remember Dreams Come True, and there you go. Easy
and it's
fix,
so
Disney.
funny that you mentioned that because while I was watching my show, that's the music I was listening to in the background.
Seriously, it would be a great show to do because it's just all the attractions, and it would look great.
Yeah.
It would look great.
And these drone shows seem to be popping up a lot more, right? The technology is becoming a lot more readily available, and so companies are hiring these, you know, these drone artists to create these huge shows. We even saw it during the inauguration this last year when they did an entire drone show when President Biden was inaugurated. Disneyland already has done certain things to help out the pollution that the fireworks were causing, right? The trail that they left behind when they were set off was obviously creating all sorts of smoke in Anaheim. It was creating some serious breathing issues for people. People were getting rashes and all sorts of stuff because they were getting irritated from the smoke. Then they went to the air compressed cannons, which essentially lost the smoke trails, and it helped them control when certain things went off, when they started embedding the chips inside of each of the shells so that they could detonate them the way that they wanted. So, I mean, Disney's already kind of made leaps and bounds as far as controlling these fireworks and getting kind of what they want out of them. But it's nothing like these drone shows. Like the precision that you can create these things. I mean, even Marvel got in the action and they were promoting like different things. I think it was for Endgame, where the like a giant Avengers logo and everything was projected on the sky. It was amazing.
Nice.
Right? Like the different Avengers and stuff. I'm going to try to find the blog post where we talked about it, and if I can find the video, I'll put it in the blog post for this episode, podketeers.com/372. But you're right. If we went to a drone show where they could just program them to make really anything that they wanted, oh man, that would
Right.
be, I mean, and it's less likely depending on the types of drones that they use. I know that there are some that can withstand wind a little bit more than others. So if it was, I mean, anytime that there's a little bit of wind, they're very cautious with the fireworks shows, and usually
Right.
they end up canceling them. Depending on how strong the winds are, they might still be able to do them with the drones, and that would be fantastic. So carbon footprint wise, a plus, right?
Uh-huh.
What it looks like, plus plus. Disneyland
Yeah.
plus.
There you go.
Fireworks plus. Drones plus. Plus plus everything plus.
Everything plus. I've got to see near where I live and where right where I used to near where I used to work. There's the Intel campus, and they would do their drone show, testing drone shows from there. And so we would get to see. I'd go out to the parking lot at work, and there'd just be like a Santa Claus or a football player or something in the
Nice.
sky, and so you could see from there. So it was really cool to see up close, or you'd just see like a bunch of dots, like test patterns and different things like that. So it's kind of cool that it's, near where I am. They're even testing them out for, I believe they might have been doing, this is a while ago, they might have been doing the Super Bowl ones
Oh, awesome.
up here, I think.
Yeah.
It was a football player, guys, so I'm assuming that was the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And Disney's been working with Intel for some time. Back in 2016, Intel was the company responsible for putting on the Starbright Holidays experience that they were doing at Walt Disney World in Disney Springs. So, I mean, if you had an opportunity to see that up close, I'm low-key jealous, dude.
It
Not
was
low-key,
definitely
not the
yeah,
variant, but yeah. Anyway.
low key. But yeah, it was cool to see, and it's yeah, I tried to get photos of it, but it was so far away, it's blurry, and nothing came out. So but yeah, it was just like a nice little surprise coming out to the parking lot. Be like, oh hey, there's some drones.
Very cool. Larry, have you ever seen a drone show, or Mel, have any of you either seen any of these shows, even a video?
I haven't, but I was feeling. I mean, I've seen the videos; those are super cool. Like
Yeah.
you're saying, the Biden inauguration when he was coming in, that was pretty awesome to see on video. But an event that's coming up that I really wanted to go to, but Andrew's a lot more closer now. The Oakland A's are doing a drone show this year, and I think they're the
Nice.
first
Oh,
MLB
cool.
team to offer a drone show after a game. It'll be versus the Yankees on August 27th. So anybody up north, A's tickets are cheap. I don't know about the Yankees versus the Yankees, but that's a place you go catch a drone show soon.
Right on.
That's cool.
You know, if we did end up getting the drones, I think it would be nice because, theoretically speaking, they could have a set of drones for DCA to have its own, like, light show in the sky.
Yeah.
Because when you're deep in Pixar Pier, you can't see what's going on above Sleeping Beauty Castle.
Sure.
And, you know, when you're deep inside of Disneyland, you can't see what's happening, like World of Color. You can't hear any of it because of just how far away it is. So theoretically, you could have a couple of different drone shows, one for Disneyland and one for Avengers Campus, maybe. I don't know. Disney. You know, so if it pops up in a couple months, you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool. It's kind of like I was just listening to something, and they were talking about light magic, the old, very much hated parade, and I guess an original idea from that was they were going to, it was going to be called Tinkerbell's Night Magic, and they're going to have Tinkerbell fly down Main Street, and Tinkerbell was basically like a helicopter with a doll attached to it. And I guess it looked really cool, but then like the first preview the first time they tried it, it like crashed and broke apart,
Oh,
so they just
no.
canceled the whole thing, and they said, nope, this isn't gonna happen. And so then they went a whole separate way. So it's kind of like a spiritual cousin, the light magic Tinkerbell and all these drone shows. It's
Yeah.
like a drone show before a drone show was even a concept.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, if you end up seeing it in the parks anytime soon, you're welcome, I guess. I don't know what to say because more
What
than
can
likely,
you say except you're welcome?
I know I'll be happy. Definitely, I'll be happy because the possibilities are endless.
Yep.
Oh, hey. So Andrew, I think this episode you're gonna be making me really jealous, like most of the episode, because Amazon and D23 teamed up to release. Let me read the entire name for this because, I want to make sure I get these 2 or 3 words correct. But here's the name of the product. The Disney Treasures from the Vault Limited Edition Engineer Mickey Mouse Giant 36-inch plush Amazon exclusive.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the name. So in case you're wondering how to find it, just search for all that, and then you'll find
All that. Yeah. Well, you can't find it anymore on Amazon, I'm pretty sure.
You cannot. I tried earlier. So what this is if you remember the opening of Disneyland, when they were doing the special, when they did Dateline Disneyland during the park's dedication, Walt, when he was on the EP Ripley, he had this Engineer Mickey plush toy with him. And it was made exclusively for this special, for the opening of the park and the dedication. I love this plush, right? It's Mickey. It's related to trains. It's a nice size. It's pretty big. It's like 3 feet tall. And, I wanted this plush as soon as I saw the email from D23. And I was thinking, man, should I get this? But it was right on the tail end of should I get the tiki mugs or like what am I gonna buy? Like which one's more probable here? I ended up going with the tiki mug because I didn't know how much the Mickey was going to be, and obviously I didn't want the tiki mugs to go out. I really liked the design, and I wanted to make sure that I got one. So my cousin ended up going, and he picked one up for me. So big thanks to my cousin John for picking that up for me.
Nice.
Yeah. So the Mickey gets released, and I had an alarm and everything set on my phone. I'm like,
I
man,
did too.
if this is happening, I'm gonna go for it. And I didn't know what to expect price-wise, right? I knew it was limited edition. I knew it was a D23 release. And in my head, I was running scenarios like, well, how much am I willing to spend on this thing? Like $50? Yeah. It's like $60? Sure. Like $150? Maybe. I don't know. And so I let it go, waited for the alarm. Boom, 9 o'clock rolls around. I go on there, send the message to the team, make sure that they go on there. I saw that it was $100, and I thought to myself, should I get it? Should I not? And I didn't. I think $100.
But I did.
Yes, and I have to say, I'm so happy for you. I'm glad that one of us got it.
It'll be
I'm
sitting
sad that
here
it's not
when
me.
when we do our next, whenever it comes in the next after show, we'll have Mickey sitting right behind me. I'm sure he's gonna be huge. When they first announced it, I don't know if they announced how big it was in any of the postings. So I was like, oh, maybe it's like if it's like a 16-inch thing, maybe it'd be $50. That'll be okay, that's kind of thing. 3 feet tall, this thing, and it comes with a stand.
Nice.
It's gonna take a week to get here, so it won't be here till next week. But yeah, I was talking with Tina, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, here's this Mickey that came out. What do you think about it? How much do you think it costs?" She goes, "Oh, like $200." And I was like, "No, it's $100." She's like, "Oh, you should get it." I was like, "Yeah,
Nice.
we should get it." Okay, so and then I got it, and it was still available like through the most of the day.
Yeah.
Where sometimes those those through Amazon Treasure Truck, sometimes those deals go like real quick. But I think because since they've changed it to where it's Treasure Truck, but they still just ship it to you, as opposed to having to go pick it up, they might have a more availability because it's not like, oh, this truck only has 20 or whatever in your area.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they did shift to the just ship it, buy it, and ship it model probably around July or August of 2020 because of the pandemic. And I had done Treasure Truck before, and I'd pick stuff up for my cousins, and I've gotten a few things like pins and stuff that they have exclusive to Treasure Truck. But when I saw it, like I thought to myself, like if this was $50, I would have instantly jumped on it. 75, I would have thought about it and then been like, "Yep, still getting it." At $100, I had to think about it a little bit more because not only did I get the mugs, but I'm in the process of trying to buy some other stuff And I saw the Mickey still available later on in the evening because, like you said, we've posted board games like the It's a Small World board game and other stuff on the Discord server. And usually by the time we post it, when members on Discord go check the treasure truck, they're gone. They're sold out already. And that's within the first 20, 30 minutes of it. So I was surprised that it was still available. I almost took it as a sign that it wanted me to buy it. And I thought, how can I convince my wife that this is an okay purchase? Honestly, I will tell you, if I had talked to her about it, she would have been like, just get it. You're going to regret it. Do I regret it now? Absolutely. So I will just enjoy yours from afar.
Yeah, you can see it every time you watch the, we video chat.
Or if you want me to babysit him for a while, I'll be open to that as well.
Okay, yeah. We'll figure out a custody or something.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Before we continue, I do want to remind you that this episode of Podketeers is brought to you by a fantastic group of listeners known as the FGP Squad, or as we call them, our podcast Fairy Godparents, through their support via Patreon. If you want more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, just head on over to podketeers.com/FGP for more information. There you'll find a little bit about what the FGP Squad is. Members of the FGP Squad will be listed on that page, a little bit of what you get, which is, exclusive content like the Podketeers after show, discounts on Podketeers gear. You get access to the monthly Zoom happy hour call that we do, and more. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out with that. But again, podketeers.com/FGP is where you want to go for a link to sign up. And of course, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you for your continued support. Let's briefly touch on this lawsuit that apparently is happening between Scarlett Johansson and the Disney company. Any thoughts that you want to share on what's happening right now?
It seems like there's you can kind of see both sides of it, but also you can see that, in my opinion, I think Warner Brothers, I'll bring up Warner Brothers, when they knew that they were going to start doing all this HBO Max stuff, where they're releasing stuff in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time, they went and renegotiated with all of their stars who had these contracts where they're saying, will you get X amount of box office, da-da-da-da-da, and renegotiated with all of them. Disney didn't bother to do that for Black Widow, and I don't know if they've done it for anything else post this lawsuit coming to light. So that, I think that would have been an easy enough thing to do. But, everybody wants to keep their money. And, a lot of it is, pandemic related. And I think I mentioned this on the show before, that when we talked about, it must be on the after show, when we talked about Black Widow, this movie was, anticipated to come out in a different world than it did. So,
Yeah.
In her contract, she was expecting to make, if this movie made close to $1 billion, she could have made up to 50 million or something like that. But we're not in that place anymore. So, I think Disney did the right thing by putting it on Disney Plus. But, in my opinion, I think they probably should have renegotiated with her before all this happened.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could see is like this just happening is probably just renegotiations. I mean, it's a hard situation because things, we're not going to the movie theaters because of what's going on. It's kind of weird to see things when things are out of our control. The only thing at the end of the day is I just hope, things are settled to where she does get paid, because I'm pretty sure, you do your work, you get paid for your art, and then everyone goes on, their merry way and so forth. So for me, it's just, if, for this is happening, I'm sure there's a reason, and pay when it's owed, what's owed, all that jazz, It's just, like I said, it's just a hard situation because, things did happen. Maybe we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know if Disney did say at the end, like, hey, we'll take this and we'll put it towards, her salary or something. We just don't know that. So that's pretty much where I am. It's like I totally get it, and it's just a horrible, crappy situation.
Yeah.
I just hope everything just works out in the end, pretty much.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go a little off the different route. I see what your guys' points are with the pandemic and the movie we got released. I just look at this being a money thing, and I don't like it. That's really where I'm at, and that's because I look at it as like Scarlett Johansson, an amazing actor, and the storyline and all of that. They deserve what they give and what they're doing acting, but I for $50 million and the lawyers going after Disney, and Disney's not being right. We know that they have money at this point. We know, as far as we can understand, they're not meeting somewhere. That's for sure. We all know that. I just feel bad for the people. Are the people that do the CGI, the acting, the background, all of the things that make the movie amazing. Do they get $50 million in the end? If the movie does $1 billion, do they get that? Do they get a bonus? Do they get anything? And it's like, I'm not saying taking anything away from Scarlett Johansson here. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is one person doesn't make the movie. And what Disney's doing is not right. And what Scarlett Johansson, whatever she feels, that's what she's going to feel. And she's put out the lawsuit. It just feels too much money related to me at a bad time. If you're going to ask me for pandemic-wise, like, there was no other option, really. Like, let's say the movie was just released in the theaters. Like, we've had this conversation. We know it would have forced people to go, but who knows if it would even hit those numbers to where she should have gotten that amount. I just feel there's a lot more people that make a movie, and specifically Marvel movies. Like, there is a ton of people that are in that line to get to that point. So for this point, I'm just kind of this, like, it's a money thing. It's really a money thing, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't ruin Marvel, like, just jack up the negotiations, because that's a sad thing. It becomes a money thing that ruins such a good story. But that's kind of how I feel about it right now, opinion-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all bring up really great points about it. I feel like I'm on the same wavelength with all of you, because, Mel, you said something that's really key, that it's easy to talk about this stuff when you're not in the heart of it, right? Like, it's not affecting us directly. We're just kind of hearing about what's happening in the background. But, Larry, you made a really great point that it's about the money. It's what it is. And I think what bothers me about it is that I don't know if an attempt was done to do this quietly so that, people wouldn't be talking about it, and, they could have settled on some amount the way that, like Andrew, you were saying, that Warner Brothers went out, and I think they paid anywhere from 50 to 200 million to some of their actors because they knew they weren't going to have the same box office numbers. So whether or not Disney should have been proactive about that, that's a story for another day. I think there's a lot of people that are going to say, yes, they should have. Warner Brothers did it. Universal did it to some extent, I believe. And so Disney should have done the same thing. But I think this is part of what happens when you have such a huge company that in a way is semi-fragmented. Right? Like, Marvel is doing their own stuff, Pixar is doing their own stuff, Disney's doing their own stuff, and even within the Disney itself, like, without these other properties, Fox and all this other stuff, like, Disneyland is run as its own business. Walt Disney World is run as its own business. Heck, here at the Disneyland Resort, California Adventure and Disneyland are run as two separate businesses. Downtown Disney's its own business. So, when you have this many umbrellas that kind of roll up to one particular entity, there's going to be things that fall through the cracks, and there's going to be things like this that are going to cause friction. As a company, Disney is responsible to their shareholders, and like you said, Andrew and Larry, they're going to do what they have to do to make money and to keep their money. I'm not sure if it was her or her attorney or anything, but in the situation that we've been in, to argue about this in public, that I was reading that people were getting angry at her because, like, cast members were like, well, we lost our jobs because of the pandemic. Now what? So I think depending on like where you are in the pandemic right now is how you're going to interpret what's going on. Ultimately, yes, it is about money. Ultimately, what we say doesn't matter, because we're not involved in it. Like, all we can do is comment how we see things and how we feel about it. But this is a Scarlett Johansson thing and a Disney thing. What it is going to do, now that Emma Stone is kind of jumping into that bandwagon, now she's going to argue the same thing for Cruella. I think what this is going to do is it's going to bring up the conversation that we've been talking about for a really long time, and that's that companies need to renegotiate how actors are paid now that streaming has become such a big part of our lives. Some of these contracts that these companies are working with are from decades ago, and there's sometimes no way around it. Like, this is why east of the Mississippi, you have certain Marvel characters and you can use the word Marvel, and why on the West Coast we can't use the word Marvel, because of these ancient contracts. And
Oh, we should do a after show about that, because that would be fun.
oh, yeah, definitely. So ultimately, who's in the wrong here? I think there's going to be people that argue for both sides. I think there's going to be people that argue that Disney's wrong, and there's going to be people that argue that Scarlett Johansson is wrong for doing this because, again, who knows what the movie is going to make. Andrew made a really great point saying that, when these films were being released in theaters, the MCU was on a streak of hitting $1 billion for every single movie that came out. Every one of them was a hit. And yeah, this was supposed to be released almost a year ago, over a year ago at this point, but we live in a different world now, and who knows what the movie would have made if it was only released in theaters. I definitely want to keep tracking the story and, keeping a finger on the pulse of what's going to happen, because how these contracts get renegotiated, I think, is going to be the most important part that comes out of this, because actors are going to want to make sure that they're not only getting it for the feature film, but for any streaming rights that are going to come later on. I know that there's some of that negotiation now with, like, Friends, for instance. Friends made a big deal when they were on Netflix, and then they were pulled, and they were paying millions of dollars to keep them on Netflix before they went to Peacock because they were such a huge property. The Office was another one of those that was on Netflix. And now that everybody has their own streaming service, everyone wants their properties back, right? Everybody wants to make sure that they're in the streaming game. So I feel like we're going to see a lot more of these, and they're going to seem abrupt, and they're going to seem unjustified at times. But I just think that it's a conversation that's been needing to happen for a really long time, and it just happens to be going on at a very inopportune time because of everything that we're going through in the world. So, again, what we say ultimately doesn't matter because we're not involved, but it's going to be interesting to see how everything turns out. And I think that's where we all are ultimately, that we just kind of want to see like what happens and how things get renegotiated later on. So let's talk about another Disney film now, because I had an opportunity to watch Jungle Cruise. The world premiere happened last week at Disneyland. Had an opportunity to watch it. Did everybody see it? Am I the only one?
We saw it.
We saw it.
Larry, we couldn't convince you to watch it?
Remember?
Oh, that's right. We were
Yeah.
supposed to tell Larry how
This
he
is
liked
the
how we liked
negotiation. Here we
This
go.
Yeah.
Sell
is
it.
convince Larry to watch the Jungle Cruise. This is the segment
right.
of the show.
Okay. Anybody want to start? Because I can try to convince Larry with a simple phrase.
Go ahead, do it. You go ahead. I always.
Oh my God, go watch it!
Oh. Okay. All right. Tension getter.
Uh,
Elevator pitch has started.
It was
Yeah.
good. It was good. It was. There's some stuff, with any movie, that has its weird moments. Especially when, it seems like they're trying too hard in some parts where it's like, okay, we're trying to be Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing. But overall, it was fun. It was silly. It was ridiculous. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching the whole film.
So I think I'm on the other side of the river
Yeah.
on this. I mean, I liked it. I liked it. It's not Cruella. It's not pirates. It's a different story. Um, there were some parts that kind of stretched a little bit, so I was kind of wondering what was gonna happen because it was kind of like, da da da. Okay, that could have happened like 2 minutes ago, but the story, I mean, it's fun and it does have the spirit of the Jungle Cruise in it. Um, the only thing is my little complaint is I didn't understand Emily Blunt's character for a little bit because if they were going for a strong, a strong-minded female, which is great, but they made her really stubborn.
Yeah.
And I'm stubborn, but there's a level of like, hey, that's a lot of stubbornness. It's got to kind of come down a little bit, but but it is a ride. Like it'll take you like it's kind of weird. It's like if you have been on the Jungle Cruise, then you can imagine these stories happening as you're going through it. So there you go.
It's a little
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise. It's a little Indiana Jones. It's a little Pirates
Yeah.
of the Caribbean. It's a little this, a little that. Emily Blunt, she played the character of Pants, right? That was her name,
Yeah.
Pants, in
Yeah.
the movie. She played Pants.
That's
That was her
interesting.
character's name was Pants.
I think you guys nailed it with that description, right? Pirates, indie, like all those Jungle Cruise, like they're all there. I'm sticking to the you gotta watch it that I said at the beginning because, Mel made a lot of really great points that if you're familiar with the Jungle Cruise, if you go into this film expecting it to be exactly like the attraction, you are going to be sorely disappointed. Because although it has elements of the attraction, it has the puns that the skippers say. It has a lot of the gags, like on the attraction, there's a big branch with like a boa constrictor, right? Like there's certain visual things that happen on the Jungle Cruise on the attraction that happen in the film, and they're very literal, and they're there to bring you in. And to be honest with you, a lot of them happen in the first third of the movie. And the reason they happen in the first third of the movie is because they want to bring you in and give you that comfort zone that you're familiar with when it comes to the attraction, so that when you go into the second and third part of the film, like the second and third acts of it, you're already in the storyline. They give you just enough of the attraction in the first act that you become enticed and you're like, okay, I'm on for this ride now. I'm here for this, right? The story itself, I remember when we were talking about that Ronald D. Moore was in talks with Disney about creating a show for Disney Plus about the SEA. And I was super excited about this, right? Because I thought, oh my God, Jungle Cruise is going to be the introduction of Dr. Albert Falls into this like MCU-like version of SEA, and we're getting this on Disney Plus, right? Like it was crazy how happy I was. And the more that I found out about the film, the more that I realized that that was not going to be a possibility. After watching it, I can tell you that it is not directly geared towards that, but it's open enough that it can be used for that. So
You get
if
like
you were
evil,
expecting...
you get evil society in this film.
Well,
not evil,
yeah.
but not cool as the one we know and love.
Yeah, right? There are inklings of it throughout the film. They even reference Albert Falls in the movie. Like he's like referenced in packages and in like artifacts that are seen as part of, the storyline. And it gives you that sense of, oh my God, this is really going to bring us into this universe. The story itself, if you listen to our episodes on the SEA, we talked a little bit about Dr. Albert Falls and his story and how he falls into the lore of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. this story in particular takes elements of that story and then adds this whole other story that kind of incorporates something that we've already seen in Pirates of the Caribbean and we've kind of already seen in Indiana Jones, in something that they're searching for in the film and what the whole premise revolves around, right? I think they do a really good job of telling that story. I think that if you go in without the bias of this has to be exactly like the attraction, you'll enjoy the film. I think it's very enjoyable. As a matter of fact, I probably enjoyed it 3 times more than I was expecting to enjoy it, because I know I was kind of on the fence about it too. And like we even said, like, we don't know how much money this is going to make. Like, we don't even know if it's good, right? I would watch it again. Like, that's how much I enjoyed it. Like, it's not like I saw it and I'm done with it. Like, I would totally go watch this again. So, as you're watching it, throughout the film, you are going to see elements. Like, when we talked about one of the expeditions that Dr. Albert Falls was on, one of the jokes on the attraction is that, there's the sunken Cambodian temple, known to some skippers as the Shir Lee Temple. Stuff like that. Like, these visual representations of the attraction are there, and you instantly connect with it. Like, if you were faltering at any point, like, you see another visual connection, you're like, I'm here for this. Yes, I'm back in the story again. They took some creative, they made some creative choices with some of the characters. The story that they told, I think, was engaging enough that if you could get past some of the shortcomings of some of the characters, like, super enjoyable. Jack Whitehall's character, one of the best parts of the film. Like, he's so enjoyable to watch. He's so funny. There's a murder cat in it. Once you watch it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Should you pay the $30 for it? If you're on the fence, I would wait. I think you're going to enjoy it even if it comes out on Disney+. But if you like adventure films and you just are looking for something to do, date night or something, and you don't have anywhere to go or do with, your significant other or your family, pay the $30, pop some popcorn, watch The Jungle Book. You're not going to regret it. I think it's a good enough film that you're going to enjoy it.
Jungle Cruise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jungle Book.
I was like, wow,
Thank
okay,
you.
Sure,
Thank you.
Just pay somebody $30 and then the Jungle Book's
Pay
free
somebody,
on Disney
yeah.
Plus.
Pay Bagheera. Pay Bagheera.
There you go.
Pay Trader Sam, whoever you want. Pay Baloo. I don't care. Any one of them
2 or
will
3
give you.
Yeah. Now, are there 2 or 3 versions of the Jungle Book on Disney Plus right now? I know
Like
the
17.
original and okay, 17 versions.
There's like 17 of them. So anyway,
but, yeah, it was good. So we saw it in the theaters again, and we immediately said, we wish we'd watch this at home because we want to watch it again. Because there were so many like little Easter eggs and little things that I wish I could pause the movie and like look at that. We'll have to do, once Larry watches it, we'll have to do a in-depth something on this because I think there's a lot to explore in this film, Easter egg wise. And also you have to take in consideration all the other Jungle Cruise attractions around the world too that they could have pulled from. I mean, in Walt Disney World, you go inside a temple, and then there's a big fireball, I think, in one of the other ones, and there's all kinds of different stuff in each of these different Jungle Cruises that they could have pulled from. So it's not just the Disneyland version that, even though that's the one we know really well and we love, there's also all these other ones that they could have pulled from to add to this film.
Great point. So if any of you out there have had an opportunity to watch the Jungle Cruise, not Jungle Book, the Jungle Cruise, join the conversation over on Instagram or on Discord. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the film. If you haven't paid for it, I don't know if our conversation has convinced you. But again, if you're on the fence about it, maybe just wait. If you're up for, an evening, you don't have anything to do, you want, like I said, want to do date night, want to do something with your kids, pop some popcorn, order some pizza or something, and watch The Jungle Cruise. I think it's a fun enough film that you'll enjoy it enough that you won't be like, I spent $30 on this. How dare you?
I don't think you would be mad. It's not like it's you didn't pay. This is not like a Haunted Mansion movie. This isn't Indiana Jones 4. This is even though even though I like both of those movies for different reasons. This is better than I think you're not giving it enough credit, Heyzen. I think it's worth the $30, especially if you're by yourself. Might be a little much, but if you have one other person to watch it with or two, then yeah, go ahead and pay it because I think it's worth the money.
There you go.
There's my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll watch it again and I'll see if I can upgrade it. Like if I was giving it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it.
I like this.
I don't know, 7.5. What are we rating on Jungle Cruise boats? How about that?
I mean, that's about right for me too. I mean, it wasn't the perfect movie. But rarely every movie is the perfect movie. But I think it was fun, and I was thoroughly entertained.
Oh, the hippos were there, man. All that
Yeah.
was part of the
that's
film.
the rating system. How many hippo ears?
How many hippo ears? Yeah,
How many pairs or how many-
7.5 hippo ears.
Oh no, poor hippo. What happened?
One's like
shot by
one's like who is that? Picasso. Who cut off his ear? Monet.
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. One of those artists. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, if you have any thoughts on The Jungle Cruise, we'd love to hear them. Join the conversation over on Instagram or Discord, and let's continue talking about it there. And maybe even let's throw this out there. We've already seen Pirates. We've already seen Haunted Mansion. We've now seen Jungle Cruise. What attraction do you want to see next as a film? If you had all the power and Disney said, hey, here's $1 billion, go make the next attraction film, which attraction do you want to see as a film next? During the conversation, we'll put up a poll, and then we'll talk about the results in next week's episode, because I'm curious as to see what people would want to see next. Anybody want to throw their thoughts into this one? Because I know what I want to see next.
Turkey leg. No, just
I
the
think
movie.
Turkey leg. The
Matterhorn
movie.
would be fun.
Matterhorn would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. I would love a Shrunken Ned movie. Or a Sala series on Disney Plus or something like that. But those are not really attractions as more characters that I am very fond of. Yeah.
I'm still pulling for a new Haunted Mansion.
It's coming. They announced a casting.
Waiting until it's real. It's you know what I mean.
They
So it's like
announced-
actually,
there's
it's like the ride
movement
right now.
slowly.
We'll see what
Speaking of
happens.
behind the attraction, there's probably like so many hands in the pot. They can't get this thing off the ground. But
They got
hopefully it
Tiffany
comes out good.
Haddish, and I don't remember who else. That's the one I remember.
You know what I
I
would
think we need to
want
bring the rating system.
Yeah, go ahead.
On movies.
And we should bring a rating system in. Let's create one, and then we'll start
Yeah.
implementing it on future episodes. Ooh, yeah.
We
Let's put a
should.
pin in that one too. Boop. I would want to see a Big Thunder film. I think Big
Yeah.
Thunder Mountain, Rainbow Ridge, bring back all the characters, maybe bring in Jason Chandler and do a proper introduction to the SEA. I mean, he is one of the key components to all of the characters, kind of that started off the wave that we're all currently aware of. Like, what a better way to start off that series, right? Like, we already have a basis for it. When Marvel did Disney Kingdoms, they did a Big Thunder, comic book, like a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
They did one for Tiki Room. They did one for the Museum of the Weird. They did one for Haunted Mansion. Maybe let's implement the Disney Kingdoms, and let's go from there.
Tony
Yeah.
Baxter's not busy right now. He's not doing anything. He can be Barnabas T. Bullion.
I think so. I think so.
Are you and
Oh.
Tony like Heyzen and Kev? Kind of.
I mean, look.
I'll call Tony.
Okay.
I'll
it.
call Tony. We'll get him on the Big Thunder Mountain film.
Or as I like to call
Series
him, the
of films.
stash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It's funny because at Disney World on the Jungle Cruise, maybe a month or so ago, on the crates that they have in the queue all of a sudden they started saying like Hightower Enterprises, and a couple of them had the SEA emblem painted on the side of them. But then in a few weeks, all that stuff disappeared. Like none of those things are there anymore. I think that they ended up removing them because they didn't want people to associate the new film with the SEA. Because like I said, we have inklings of it, but I think adding the elements of the SEA so close to the release of the film, I think it would have given people false hope that it was going to be tied to it. And maybe it still is at some point, but, you know, they're trying to, you know, throw us off the scent and give us just enough that, you know, it keeps it fresh in our mind. But I think that they took it all off because they didn't want people to associate the two and just let it live as its own thing. But who knows?
Or they were hiding projectors under those things as a play test, and then they were done testing it, and then they took everything away.
Dun dun
Because crates are just the right size to hide a projector.
That's very true. Very true. Dun dun dun. And now we've come to the part of the podcast that you've all been waiting for.
Drone
It's
crates.
time to choose your key.
Copyright. Get them in accounting.
Your
Quick.
friend and host, Mickey Mouse.
So after months of speculation, the Disney company has finally given us some information on what the evolution of the annual pass program is going to look like. As you know, earlier this year, Disney made the decision to cancel all of the annual plans as they existed, breaking the hearts of hundreds of thousands of Disney fans simultaneously. You know, they went on and they renamed it the Legacy Pass because, you know, a Legacy annual pass holder, because they wanted to give people discounts and allow them to shop for stuff. And, you know, it was great for a while, but I think everybody was waiting to see what we were going to get next. There was a lot of speculation about how much it was possibly going to be because we had seen a lot of different price hikes over the years, and the trend, I think people felt that we were going to be over the $2,000 mark for the highest tier. Really early on, I think we started speculating that because of the Flex Pass, we felt that it was going to all be Flex Pass, especially considering that once we were in the pandemic, the reservation system seemed to be really working for them to try to control the crowds. And what better way to control the crowds than by forcing everyone to make a reservation? Lo and behold, earlier today, the Magic Key was announced. I think the greatest comparison that I saw was the graphic that Andrew sent all of us, where each key was represented by a Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. I don't agree that the Imagine Key is Sora's Keyblade, but whatever. I mean, I guess if you're starting off at the bottom, it's the most basic Keyblade, so I guess it makes sense if you want to get technical about it, but whatever. 4 different keys to choose from, no longer called annual passes: the Imagine Key, Enchant Key, Believe Key, and Dream Key. When you guys all saw this, what were your initial thoughts of this new key system that Disney has put forth?
Monthly payments are back. I think that was the biggest shock to see that we were going to get that option again, considering some of us all of us actually, we all paid full price for tickets. And I thought we were going to have to take out, half our bank account for a pass, but I'm actually surprised. I'm actually really surprised, pleasantly surprised, because we're that much closer to getting a pass again.
Yeah.
Who's going to call it Magic Key? I don't think anybody that's not required to call it Magic Key is going to call it Magic Key, because everybody has been calling it annual pass since, 1987 or whatever. So everybody's going to call this an annual pass, even though it's Magic Key. So that's kind of, I understand why they did it because it's a whole different program, but the names here or there for me. But the offerings are, like Melissa said, pleasantly surprised that the price isn't ridiculous. Yeah, the flex, the reservation system is not ideal for everyone, but I think it's the best of both worlds to get to where the parks aren't overly crowded. Because everybody remembers you'd go there and some days, like on a Sunday, and when the SoCal passes were unblocked, like it was just a madhouse. And this is a way that they can control how many pass holders get in versus how many day ticket people get in versus, how many park hopper ticket people get in, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's going to be better for us in the long run. Like I said before, our wait time is going to be down because they can restrict who can come on which days, how many people can come, and et cetera, so that our experience overall is better.
Yeah.
Initial thought, I'll keep it just as is. I went, just what Andrew said. I go, Magic Key. Okay, I've got to stop saying annual pass. I've been still doing that.
Right.
And then I just looked at a couple of things, and I was like, yeah, this isn't the same. I shouldn't have expected that. I don't know what I was thinking. It's different. And I'm very, it's kind of like Jungle Cruise, I guess, again. I'm hesitant to what we've been seeing as trends previously from what Disney is offering. I'm hesitant to be like, I was satisfied. Let's just put it like that. I was satisfied to be like, there's the monthly payments again. That's awesome. That's back. Thank goodness. But I wasn't ready to like jump. I'll explain that later when we get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you all bring up some really great points. I think initially, I'm kind of with you, Larry. There are some things that make you really hesitant at initial glance, right? Because when you break them down, the prices are very comparable to what the last set of annual passes were. There's not a huge jump, which is very, very surprising for me. The lowest one, however, the Imagine Key, is only available for Southern California residents. And everything from the Enchant up is available for anyone. They're not restricting it to California. They're opening it up to everyone. This one, this does not list what the Premier Key or Premier Pass or any of that would entail. I know that there was a lot of people that park hop between Florida and Anaheim that had a Premier Pass because it allowed you into the parks on both coasts. There's no mention of that here. And I know that Disney World is scheduling to bring back their new program for annual passes really soon. So I'm sure that once that is revealed, we'll have more information on what's going to be available if you tend to park hop between the two coasts. As far as what's available, let's break down the Southern California one first. It's $3.99 and $19 a month after a $179 down payment. As a matter of fact, they're all available as a monthly payment plan after the initial $179, which is approximately the equivalent of a one-day park hopper, I think, on a like second tier, I think is what it is, because we're still on the tiered system ticket-wise. I'd have to go back and look at the tickets, but I feel it's kind of like the mid-tier, because over 200, I think, is the highest tier.
Tier
for
5.
it.
The highest tier, yeah.
They're all reservation-based on admission to one or both theme parks, up to 2 park reservation holds at a time, 10% off merchandise, 10% off food and beverage. This is really similar to what we saw when Costco was doing the SoCal passes, or even when Disney did the SoCal pass for a little while. It's about the same price. And look, honestly, the monthly payments, I think we were all surprised to see them back, but I think Disney understands from a business sense, getting a monthly payment from people to not come as often as they were coming before, and possibly coming once or twice a year, but still getting $20 a month from them is huge for the company, right? When everybody had annual passes, That's the big difference now, right? When we had them before, we could go whenever we wanted. We can't do that anymore. Like, now we have to make a reservation. So the next key is the Enchant key. This one's $6.49, $40 monthly payments, up to 4 park reservation holds at a time, 10% off merchandise, food, and beverage. The Believe key, $9.49, $65 a month after the initial payment, up to 6 park reservation holds at a time, 10% off merchandise, food, and beverage, and 50% off theme park parking. The Dream key, which is the highest one that you can purchase, is $13.99, $102 a month after the initial $179. You can hold up to 6 park reservation holds at a time. You get 20% off merchandise, select merchandise, 15% off food and beverage, and theme park parking is included.
And then the 5th key is the Monk key, and that
I didn't get an opportunity to get the pricing for the annual passes that we had before. Andrew, I think you mentioned that you had the list, right?
I have it at the ready. Yeah. So, and we'll talk about blockout dates later because all those different levels have many different blockout dates. But yeah, the SoCal Select Flex, the SoCal Select Pass previously was $4.19, and just a comparison, the Flex Pass that used to exist was $6.49. So that's kind of like your in between. So $4.19 for SoCal, and Imagine, which is the low SoCal Pass, now is $3.99, so a $20 difference. A deluxe pass was $8.29, comparable to the Enchant Pass, which is $6.49. So that's a good, $220 difference there. It's now the Enchant Pass is similar to, it is exact same price as the Flex Pass was, but I believe the Enchant Pass has more availability than the Flex Pass did, because I think the Flex Pass was mostly weekdays with very few weekends, if I remember correctly. Then the Signature Pass, which I think was the one most of us had, was $11.99, and that included parking, and that included the 15 and 20% off food. And that one was the, we only had the 2 weeks at the end of the year blocked out. And then the Signature Plus was $14.49, and that's and the Dream Pass, the highest one, is $13.99, so that's a $50 difference. And the Signature Pass compared to the Believe is a difference of $250. Yeah, $250 difference. So that one, but you also get, there's more blackout days in the Believe Pass than the Signature was. So yeah, those are the pricing breakdown.
Because the Signature was essentially considered the come at any time except for the last 2 weeks of December pass. And then Signature Plus gave you all of them, regardless of when you went.
You save $300 or whatever for the,
And you had a
and usually that time of year was super packed anyway, so, if there was really something going on, you could still pay for a single day, and it would still come out cheaper than paying the additional $300 for the additional 2 weeks. The fact that parking is only included on the highest one, the Dream Key, I think is a little odd, especially the fact that they didn't give us an opportunity, or they haven't mentioned the opportunity of adding things a la carte, right? Like, I would like to add parking if I had maybe, I don't know, the Enchant, right, which is like $6.49. Add parking and maybe PhotoPass to it. I remember that when that first became a thing, you could tack it on for an extra $10, and then you had PhotoPass for the day. So I think things like that would still be really valuable. Especially if you intend on trying to max out the amount of reservations that you can get throughout the year. Let's talk blackout dates, because that's going to play a huge role in what I think people end up selecting as their next annual pass. Magic key.
I know it's going to take a while for us to get used to it, just like
I know
Galaxy's
Andrew
Edge.
kind of went on was kept saying pass, right? I think.
Yep.
I was
Pass.
like,
Well, I was talking about the old passes, so that's.
oh,
yeah,
but you're
it's
like enchanted pass. And I was
enchant pass. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, all right, here we go.
Fast pass, max pass, everything's pass. It's gonna take a while to not be ingrained in the pass. Now it's like reservation and magic key, and yeah, it's gonna be hard to change your vernacular for sure.
Yeah. So let's go to blackout dates. Andrew, I know you have some information on the blackout dates. What do you have for us?
Yeah. So Dream Key, no blackout dates. That was easy peasy. Yeah, that's the easiest one. No blackout dates. You can get the 6 reservations, and I believe they're up to 90 days in advance. All these reservations you can book up to 90 days in advance. The Believe Key, it's a good chunk. This is the next one down from the Dream. You get every Saturday but one in October is blocked out. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday of Thanksgiving is blocked out. Every Saturday in December plus the last 2 weeks of the year, and the first 2 days of January. And then President's Day weekend, looks like the 19th and 20th of February, the 19th and 26th of March, Spring Break week, which is the 9th through the 17th of April, plus the 2nd of April, and then Memorial Day weekend, the 28th and 29th. And then of May, June is completely open, surprisingly, and July, every Saturday in July, plus the 4th of July weekend is completely blocked out, and then August and September are completely open. So that is the Believe Key. Enchant Key, you're getting first weekend in September is blocked out. All Saturday and Sundays in October are blocked out. All Saturdays in November plus the whole week surrounding Thanksgiving. December, all weekends plus the last 2 weeks of the year. First week of January, the 15th, 16th, 17th of January. 19th, 20, 21 of February. 3 Saturdays in March. All Saturdays in April plus Spring Break. All Saturdays in May plus Memorial Day. Memorial Day. Almost the entirety of June, save a week. The entirety of July, first 2 weeks of August, and 1 weekend in September. So that's the blockout days for Enchant Key. And then I'm not going to do this for Imagine Key, but it's basically you get Monday through Thursday. And then a few select Fridays for the Imagine Key. It's basically a weekday pass, no weekends at all. Like there's like 6 Fridays or something like that.
So if you're looking at the Dream Key has 0 blockout dates. If you're looking at the Believe Key, overall there are 48 blockout dates throughout the year. The Enchant Key has 151 blockout dates. And then the Imagine Key has 235 blockout dates.
And, hold on, I got another thing that I saw in the fine print. I was reading fine print, and this could mean nothing. This could mean a lot of things. It says, I will read from the thing, pass types are limited in quantity, and passes may no longer be available to purchase and or renewal at any time. So, this might mean something. It might mean nothing. It could be, the SoCal pass, they only have X amount, and then the highest pass, they'll have unlimited amount or something like that. But that was in the fine print of the website, so something to kind of be aware of.
Yeah, always read the fine print, right? That's a really important detail. I think as far as when they launch it, so it's funny because they have all of these incentives that are tied to it. If you become a member within the first 66 days of the launch of this brand new program. Apparently Disneyland is planning to have like a special premium branded pin, celebratory button, magnet, and like just this package that you get as part of becoming what they're calling a charter member of this new program. Plus, they're going to have limited time experiences at the Starcade in Tomorrowland, similar like they did for AP Days, before. I know that there's going to be like no-show policies that are in effect the same way that they have for Flex Plan, and making sure that you keep your reservations, because if you don't keep your reservation, obviously it's preventing somebody else from coming into the park and making the company money. So there will be ramifications if you don't keep your scheduled dates. Obviously, you can work something out or cancel if you have an emergency. That's something you got to work out with Disney. But the not available thing was an interesting piece of information, because I'm wondering if what they're going to do is they'll limit it to maybe, like, if you think about how many people were annual pass holders, maybe they'll do an eighth of that to start off. Those will be charter. And then they'll see how it works out and how they can move around with reservations. And as COVID restrictions get lifted even further and we're able to open the parks a little bit more, maybe they'll open it to another eighth. So make it a quarter of what the annual pass holders used to be before. And then they'll kind of juggle that around for a year or two and see how well they're maneuvering with that amount of passes. And then maybe they'll open it to roughly half. And then maybe that's where they're going to cap it, because they'll realize that the amount of people that are coming into the parks on reservation days are not allowing ticketed people to come in, or ticketed guests to come into the park as frequently as they would want to. It makes sense to a certain extent, because one of the biggest complaints was that as annual pass holders, we were always in the park, and so we would hinder the experience for ourselves, honestly, and for guests that were coming from out of town or on vacation, whatever the case was. I was trying to figure out exactly where we kind of stand with tickets right now, right? So if you got a one-person, just one park hopper for a single person for 2 days, you're looking at about $200, or $235, I think, is what the cost of the ticket is.
What tier is that?
I want to say, I thought I had my notes here. Give me just a second so I can bring them up.
Well, and I mean, they do have that deal going on right now too for California residents, which is
does it matter if they're park hoppers? Like what tier it is? Doesn't it just kick in once you make?
That's what I don't remember. That's a good question. I thought park hoppers still had a tier, but that might just be day ticket, and I'm getting everything confused. But
yeah,
that pass, that it's $304 for a 3-day park hopper or something like that for California residents. So that's their deal right now.
Yeah. So I won't even go into the deal packages right now, right? I just want to stick to single day or just general park hoppers. So if we went with a 5-day, a 2-day ticket, if you went for one park for 1 day for one adult, it's $235. That's the max you're going to pay for a ticket at this moment, right? So at approximately $1,400, you would have to go to the park around 6 times in 1 year in order to break even on that pass. And this is usually how we broke it down, right? Like, we were paying X amount of dollars, and we would figure out, like, how many times a year do I have to go in order to make this feasible for me? And I know for damn sure that we went way more than 6 times in 1 year. So we more than got our money's worth out of those passes. So theoretically, if you went once every couple of months, if you can get a reservation once every couple of months on the Dream Key, which has 0 blockout dates, by the way, you're still getting a fairly decent deal, right? Excluding the fact that you don't have some of the other perks, and you have to make the reservations and everything. You can't just show up whenever you want to. It's not as spontaneous as it used to be. It's still not a horrible deal, right? It's very, very similar to what we used to have before. The ability of possibly not being able to get one of these, I think is what's scary for me.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I want an annual pass. But I also know that I'm not ready to start going back to the parks with any type of frequency that I used to go back to the park, like that I used to go to the parks, prior to the pandemic. Give it a few months. Let's see where we stand. Let's see where this new Delta variant is and everything. And then, of course, let's start scheduling some more Disney days. But in the meantime, I feel like if I don't jump on this, I'm going to lose out on it. Is it a scare tactic to try to get as many people to sign up as possible so that now they have this huge lump revenue stream coming in that they didn't have before again? Because I'm sure that they noticed that not having people on annual pass payments was a huge dip in revenue. So is this just a scare tactic to get a huge revenue stream in again? Or are they truly going to limit it? That's the scary thing. So we're trying to figure out where we are because we have to buy 4 of these, right? It's like my wife and both our kids and myself. So it's not 1 or 2 passes. Like we have to get 4, so we have to figure out how are we going to do it? When is most convenient? There's obviously going to be times of the year that are going to be, harder for us to go because the kids are going to be in school, and depending on the pass that we get, weekends aren't even going to be available. So why would we get one that only the weekdays are available if we can't go because the kids can't go? So there's a lot of options to weigh out, especially when you're on a reservation system. As far as what you think you're going to get, or if you're considering any one of them, where do you each fall right now? And I'm curious to hear Larry's thoughts at the end about where he kind of stands, because I know he was kind of faltering on it.
Ooh, I'm probably the worst person to go first. I kind of see myself getting back into getting one of these keys. It's just because my situation's different. It'll just be 1 for now, but I'm not gonna rush it. I'm not gonna be on a browser the 25th. I can't. I will not be at home, so I can't do that. But I'm going to keep an eye out and see what happens. I think the wording and the way that everyone's excited for everything, that created FOMO. That totally did. And I think the hype is doing that. But it's also the fact that we're seeing it here already. I'm kind of itching to go back, but the situation, it's we don't know what's happening right now with health and everything. So I'm kind of waiting, and they said 66 days. So I'm going to see what those 66 days, what happens, how things go. And I'll say it right now, if they sell out, fine, cuz if I were to get it right now, I don't see myself going back until maybe October. So I wouldn't even use it for a month. So there's a lot to really consider with this, but I would say check back within 66 days.
I'm kind of in a different boat. I am excited to buy this as soon as possible, so I'm probably going to be on the 25th, hopefully trying to get this. It's a toss-up for me between the Dream and Believe. Tina and I got talking a little bit about it today. We're leaning towards the Dream just because of the how many Saturdays are blocked out,
so
and
funny.
because
Sorry.
because we have to, we make the trip down and we work during the week. So, you need the Saturday is kind of the big day. But like you said, Heyzen, it's if you go 6 days, then you basically, and plus that parking too, that $25 parking, if you add that up over 6 days, there's $150 right there. So there's another savings there, savings in quotes. But that's three trips in a year, which was something that we did regularly. 3 trips, with 2 days, maybe 3 days. So I think, we'll definitely get one of these if we can get our hands on them. And another thing to bring up too is the spontaneity thing. We don't know what this is going to look like. The first couple months might be a madhouse. But we'll be able, in theory, if reservations aren't full for the day of, you can say, oh, there's still reservations available. I want to go to Disneyland. Boop, put your reservation in and go that day. So we don't know what it's going to look like, but I have a feeling that might end up being something that is possible. Maybe it probably won't happen very often, but it might be something that is possible for more spontaneity, but not as much as we were used to. So, but yeah, we'll be getting to, all thanks to monthly payments.
Yeah.
And there's also the added complexity of trying to get a reservation at whatever restaurant you want to go to. And, you know, if you're heading down for something special for an anniversary, you want to make sure that whatever restaurant you plan on going to also has the availability along with park availability when you're going.
Yeah. Also, something we didn't bring up too is the park hopping thing that they put on here is park hopping. Currently, it's basically the same as it is right now, where you park hop after one, subject to change. Blah 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 blah. You pick a starting park, and if you have the pass, you don't have to pick both parks. The wording's kind of weird on it, so it's kind of hard to figure out. But park hopping is, you can't do it immediately. It's after one or earlier or later, depending on how late those parks are open. And I'm not sure with the if you can park hop 100% of the time, or like if a bunch of day ticket people make all their reservations for Disneyland and you start your day in California Adventure and it's just full up and you can't get in. That'll be an interesting thing to see. I don't think we've seen too much of that being an issue currently with the tickets. I haven't heard of anybody not being able to get into either DCA or Disneyland, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a cap thing right now because we don't have the crowds that we are expecting to see once it opens up a little bit more. But maybe they're taking that into consideration. I do think, though, sorry, Larry, before you give us your thoughts, I do think that, I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel that if you're a key holder, I think they're going to give more priority to day ticket holders, you know, regardless of what's going on, because to them, the day ticket holders are the ones that are making more money for them, regardless of whether or not you're buying concessions or merchandise or whatever the case is. So I do think that when it comes to, like you said, park hopping and stuff, I think the priority is going to always be for the day holders, so, or for the day ticket holders.
100%, yeah.
Larry, you know, where do you stand on all of this?
Well, I'll kind of just continue where I left off. I went, The first thing after I said, was I clicked to the link to get to the key section where it's not just the Disney Park blog, and it's kind of where we've been reading off the Dream Key and the Believe Key, and then I got to the blackout dates because I was in the mindset of comparing this to what it was before, and I need to let that go. And I wonder if any other Disney annual pass holders were like that, because I really need to let it go. Because if you compare it to what, like Andrew mentioned before, Signature was what the pass I had, which is gone. It's forgotten. If you try to compare it to Believe, just off the bat, the parking's gone. That's 50%. If you look at it numbers-wise, people are like, well, they dropped the price of the overall ticket. Well, if you go at least 12 times, you're only really breaking about $100 because you're getting 50% off of parking, and then they might raise parking. You never know that, right, either. So there's that, too. And because they're not saying anything in regards to that. So that was my first initial problem. And then the blackout dates, like we've been mentioning, comparing it to Believe Key and Signature that used to be, you just can't compare them. There was only two, like you mentioned, Heyzen, there was only like really 10 days you couldn't go on the Signature Pass. And this one, there's a lot more days. And it's not mentioned, we've just been talking about we're reserving to go. So what's funny is Melissa, you asked Melissa to go first, and I feel like right after that, I had a conversation with Rebecca after she read it, my wife, and we both came on the same point, like that 66-day thing. Like, what is this? Is this trying to get people the FOMO to get them to fill in? Because I'm on the part of to wait because I want to see how this plays out. And right now, let's just put it, apples to apples. The park's only open till 10 still. So you can't go like you used to go to 11 or 12. So you're losing out on that. Not everything's still available quite yet. They haven't got everything up to full operating. So that runs to what you're saying, Heyzen. They're running out of, the revenue they used to have to get people back to get to full operation. They need to pick that up somewhere during this time when these kids go back to school. Maybe this is their pitch. And my biggest fear with this whole thing, the key system, which I want to trust Disney in this, is the reservation system itself. I really don't like the idea that I have to wait till 1 p.m. to hop. I didn't have to do that before. And now I have to wonder, like, I know they're saying these days are available, but when you log in right now, just think of it as a regular ticket to the Disney reservation system. You see what's available. What's your tier of your ticket? What if there's some logarithm we don't even know about that's built into these keys of what tier you have? For example, let's say, they give out as many keys like that. What we read earlier doesn't really apply. That's to get people to buy as many keys as they can, right? But when these people log in with the enchanted key, they see a different amount of availability than the believe key, because the believe key gets a little bit more allotment to get in on that day. All the enchanted key people already filled it up. Does that make sense? Like the reservation that they were giving to keep this ratio comfortable. And see, I don't want to be too much of the guinea pig on this, especially like I just mentioned, that it's still not fully operational. I mean, we don't, and I hate to do this because it's more about safety, right? But there's still no shows. We don't have shows quite yet. And, and that's a big one for me. Like, I like to see live entertainment, and that was a big thing for me at Disneyland. I also like to see World of Color, Fantasmic. Those things got to roll back in for me. So that already gives me that kind of hesitancy to be, okay, let's see how the reservation system works for each of these keys and get a little more feedback. Because I technically got 66 days, and I'm still one of the originator keys, right?
Yeah. And that's if they don't run out, right? Because we don't know how they're going to handle that. So,
True.
like Mel said,
True.
there is, you both made a great point that there is some merit in waiting to see how everything goes and trying to get it as late in the game as possible. But then what type of game is this going to be with so many people itching to get back into the park as quickly as possible? I imagine the first day or two is going to be a nightmare trying to get one of these things, and we've seen it before. With all the reservations that they've had for Oogie Boogie Bash and for anything that Disney has had ticketed, the first day or two of these events, like, they're kind of a nightmare. You see it all over Twitter, you see it on Instagram, and it's a difficult thing to manage when a handful, in comparison, right? I'm using handful very loosely here, but a handful of Disney fans want to go to this particular event versus the dozen handfuls of Disney fans that are going to want to get one of these keys when it first becomes available so that they can be back in the park as soon as they can. Again, I don't know exactly where we fall on this right now, because we do have to think about getting 4. We do have to think about, when are we going to be able to go if the kids are in school. If we go too far down on the ladder, then we're not going to have any weekends available. So we can't do that. We have to have something high enough that we have the flexibility to go on weekends. But then how many weekends are available, and are they even feasible for us to go when they're available? So many things to think about. I think we're going to continue discussing it to see where we land on it. I don't think I can, if I had the money to just say, like, all right, whatever, we're just going to get all 4 of the Dream, then
Obviously.
yeah, great. Obviously
Yeah.
we get that. We don't get blockout dates, and then we can go whenever, right? But at the same time, do we really need parking on all 4 passes? Like, why was there not a Dream Key without parking available? My kids don't drive. They're children. Why do they need parking on their Dream Key? You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that kind of bugs me about how they just presented all of them without offering certain things a la carte. I get it if it's not available for all of them. But if they said, hey, Dream Key holders have the ability to purchase parking outright for the year or to add it to their plan. None of the other ones do, but you get 50% off parking. You get 10% off, whatever the cases are for each one, right? But if you're at a high enough tier, my kids don't need parking. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's an added expense that we definitely don't need to have. So a lot of things to talk about. I'm interested to hear what everyone thinks about these keys and how you see yourself using it. Where do you even stand on getting one of these? Are you going to jump on it as soon as possible? Are you going to wait to see how it goes? join the conversation over on Instagram, or we'd love to see you over on Discord. We'd love for you to join the family there. Again, podketeers.com/372. If you haven't become a member yet, just click on the Discord link. Within a few seconds, you'll be added to the server and you'll be part of the community. You can converse with all of us there. Members of the FGP Squad also have a specific section dedicated to them on the Discord server. So if you're interested in becoming a part of the FGP Squad, again, podketeers.com/FGP. You'll find the link and information there. You'll get access to link it to your Discord account and have special access to that area as well. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up this conversation?
I'm just gonna say I need to say something right at the end since we're gonna close this out. I just want to shout out to my buddy Carlos. He just started listening, and I just want to tell him thanks for listening. Everybody that tuned in to listen when I started, joined up. I just want to say thanks for listening and sticking in by everybody that's come by. I've had such a good time joining Podketeers, and I'm excited to be here for the long haul. But I just want to shout out everybody that started listening because I'm on a thing. So that was going through my head. So and that's it for before the end.
Awesome, man.
Aww.
Well, Carlos, shout out to you. Shout out to everyone that's joined the Podketeers family, following Andrew to listen to him on this thing that we do on a weekly basis. Hopefully you get to geek out as much as we do, and you get to hang with us. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope you come back for more. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
I think I want to see the backside of water.